Okay, so I'm Mr. Bill. I'm going to talk a little bit about careers and your career choices once you leave Year 11 and your post-16 options. So the first thing you need to consider is what is available to me and the help that you can get. So already you need to start planning what you're going to be doing next year and start thinking about what you're going to do when you leave school. Okay, it's really important that you plan and think about what subjects you're good at, where are you now, where do you want to go, and how are you going to get there. And all those things will help you to decide what you're going to do when you leave at the end of Year 11. It's something you might not have thought about already, but it's definitely something you need to start doing now. Okay, so some of the key things that you can use to help you are, we have some websites out there which are really useful for you. So there's a website called Careers Pilot, and all this information is available in the pack, and I've given lots of links to different websites which will be useful. But a really good one to start with is called Careers Pilot. And that website you can go through the subjects you enjoy, different jobs you might be interested in, and it's going to give you lots of information about those things like the salary, what you need to get into that job, where you need to go next and your next steps. We also have something called the START website in school which we brought into. It's a program which students can log into, and we're going to send those logins out to you. And students create their own profile, put their own strengths and weaknesses in there, and again that's going to give you some ideas for jobs that you might be interested in going into, and then what your next steps would be. Something else that you need to consider, and people perhaps don't think about this, is the labour market in the local area. And what that means is what jobs are actually out there. Obviously, if there's jobs available in certain industries and certain businesses, they can be less difficult to get into. So it is worth looking at the jobs that are available to you in the local area. And then the final thing that's going to be useful for you is your careers meetings with Miss Evans, who's been coming to school now, and I know she's already started those, but all year students in Year 11 will be having a careers meeting. Okay, so let's think about some of the post-16 options that are available. First thing is that you can certainly go into a sixth form, and the kind of choices you're going to get there are A-levels, vocational qualifications such as BTEC, BTECs and Cambridge Nationals. You've also, if you go to a further education college, you've then got the academic courses, so the A-levels and the BTECs, but also apprenticeships, T-levels, or you could even look at doing some volunteering, or perhaps join the armed forces. So, if we delve into the A-levels a bit further, so what are A-levels? So A-levels, obviously you're going to be doing those at post-16 establishments. Generally you would end up doing 3. Some people might do 4 A-level qualifications that you would choose after GCSEs. These are highly regarded and the kind of things that you would end up doing if you were interested in going to university. They will allow you to study subjects and perhaps things that you haven't done before and in greater depth. So things like psychology and law. Really, to move on to A-levels, you're going to have to be getting, GCSE grades of at least 4 to 9s in your subjects, and most places will ask for at least a grade 6 in the subject that you're wanting to study. A-levels will earn you UCAS points, and what that means is they gain points for entry into university. Obviously, the more points that you can get at A-levels, then generally the more prestigious university you will be able to go to, and it gives you more options about the courses that you might choose. You can also combine A-levels with our BTEC qualifications, and that can be done in most post-16 establishments. So what BTECs? Well, BTECs are vocational qualifications, and they're worth the equivalent of 1 A-level. They also get you UCAS points, just like A-levels do, but they're slightly more related to the world of work. So generally you would have a scenario that you work towards, based around a business model or around a place of work. But like I said, they will give you UCAS points, but the big difference, I guess, between A-levels and BTECs is that BTECs are split into smaller categories and it is more coursework dominated. You do have to do exams in them as well, but there will be more coursework that you do for your BTECs. Okay, so the next thing to look at is apprenticeships. So if you've got a job or a career already in mind, then an apprenticeship can be a really good choice. And there are different levels of apprenticeships, which I'll go on to in just a second, and that will depend on what your GCSE grades are that you get. But basically an apprenticeship is where you would be working and doing a real job, and you'll be employed by a company and you get a salary, a small salary, which then obviously helps to pay any bills or helps to contribute to where you're living and those kinds of things. You will also be working towards qualifications that are relevant to your job. And they're available at 3 different levels. Okay, the first level is an intermediate apprenticeship, which is a level 2 course, and that's equivalent to GCSEs, so equivalent to 5 GCSEs at grades 4 to 9, and generally they last between 12 and 18 months. They would be for students who perhaps haven't done quite so well in their GCSEs and they wanted to continue working at a level 2 course. You've then got advanced apprenticeships. These are a level 3 course, so equivalent to BTECs and A-levels. They would be between 18 and 48 months, so sort of 1.5 to 3 years, and they're equivalent to 2 A-levels of your qualification you get at the end. And then also, if you move through the apprenticeships, you can move on to higher and degree apprenticeships. Okay, they're levels 4, 5, 6 and 7, they'll be for over 2 years, and they're equivalent to foundation degrees or even higher than that. Okay, so if you've got a job in mind, it's an interesting way to go. So there are different ways you can find out about apprenticeships, and they're all in the booklet. So I'm not going to talk you through the different web addresses, but if you look in the booklet, there's some information in there about apprenticeships, and you can also speak to your careers advisor. So the next qualification you could move on to is T-levels. And T-levels are a fairly new course which follow on from GCSEs, and they're equivalent to 3 A-levels, and these are 2-year courses. So again, similar to what your A-levels would be. As I say, they're a new course. They were launched in September 2020, and they have been developed in collaboration with different employers and businesses so that the content meets the needs for the industry which students will be preparing to work for, and further training or study. So they offer students a mixture of classroom-based activities and on-the-job experience during like an industry placement. So you'd be working in a college, doing your normal classroom lessons, but learning the skills based towards a specific business. And then you would be spending at least 315 hours, which is about 45 days, actually working within a business, doing on-the-job work. So it's a technical qualification, like I said, which gives you core theory skills in a specific industry, gives you specialist skills and knowledge about that industry and about the occupational career. And then you get to do your industry placement. You have to have a minimum standard in maths and English to be able to do T-levels. So I think they're the key qualifications that you might be interested in moving on towards. So the next steps for you guys is, obviously in school we have our careers advisor, Christine Evans, which she is going through and making appointments with students now, and we know that students have already had appointments with her. But you do need to start thinking about what your next steps are. What are you going to do when you leave year 11? What are you going to do? What grades are you going to get, and where's that going to leave you? And start thinking about those things. Okay, thank you for listening.